Hi, I'm Lee, and welcome to a new podcast. This is called Discussing Star Wars. This name came from a newsletter that I started a couple of years ago. Since closing that down for kind of reasons I won't go into on this podcast, I've been, looking to carry on talking Star Wars in some form or other. Podcasting is something that I'm wanting to get back into, so this seemed the most obvious kind of avenue for it. Um, I didn't want to do this as a solo cast. I think it's much interesting, especially with Star Wars, to talk with others. Um, so when I reached out, Tim responded, and we came up with the podcast that you're listening to. You might know him from, this is where we got to know each other, it was from iPad Pros podcast. I know you've obviously got a Vision Pros podcast as well.
Yep.
So hi, Tim. Welcome aboard. And
Hi. Yeah, I'm excited for this. This is non-tech, totally just fun, talking about something I love from when I was a kid till today, which I still love Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. And what I want to do is keep this kind of informal. It's going to be like just a chat, like we're at the pub or whatever, just meeting up somewhere. So format is still evolving, but it's going to be kind of, half an hour, 45 minutes kind of time in. Obviously, we can go longer if we have more interesting stuff to talk about, but that's the kind of aim. And what we're planning to do is maybe talking about something that's happened over the last couple of weeks. So I guess if I rewind a little bit and just say the schedule at the moment is probably going to be a couple of months based on, obviously that's based on availability, but that's what we were kind of thinking was maybe fortnightly. It won't exactly be on probably the day that it may not rotate always on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or whatever it is. We're just kind of starting this off, so just bear with us in terms of schedule. But we are planning, a couple of months. See where we go. See what if you're enjoying it, and obviously open to feedback on anything around that. So we were going to pick a topic, kind of a general topic, but before that, we were going to just talk about things that maybe happened since our last episode. So given this is the first one, the most kind of recent thing that's happened that I thought might be worth looking at was the Skeleton Crew trailer that's just come out after D23. So this came out literally last week. It's something I've watched a few times, trying to get some kind of thoughts on it. For me, it's very, as an 80s kid growing up with films like Goonies and Stand By Me, E.T., this is very of that era. It almost feels like I really enjoyed that film about that was I'm blanking on it now.
Super 8.
Super 8. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. That's probably one of my favorite movies, because it's again of that era, and this feels very like that to me. It's a bit strange seeing suburbia in Star Wars. But I like it. I'm here for that sort of stuff. It's set in the kind of Mandalorian timeline, so it's post Return of the Jedi.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that. That's when it's
that's exactly where it is. So on the trailer, you see
an X-wing.
You see an X-wing. You see some kind of pirates. I'm pretty sure they're the pirates from Mandalorian season 3. I think it's that same crew.
Okay.
I remember there was a teaser trailer that came out a little while ago. It wasn't really a trailer. I think it was just some kind of images of what the show might look like. And I'm sure one of the pirates from that, those episodes in Mandalorian season 3 was in it. So it is that timeline, which I like. I really enjoying that kind of post Jedi, prior to the sequels.
Yeah, there's a lot of space to explore there.
There's loads. Speeder bikes, X-wings, like you said, Jedi. Not too sure about Jude Law's expression in the trailer.
Jude Law was the Jedi in the trailer.
Sorry,
was Jude Law the Jedi in the trailer? Okay.
Yeah. They've released his name and all sorts of stuff. I think it leaked
I
on
hope
Lego
that
packaging or something.
Reveal happens early on in the show, because otherwise, come on, big spoiler in the trailer.
Yeah, you kind of hope. I would guess. I mean, the things that I'm hoping they get right. I wouldn't say get right, because I've enjoyed the TV stuff, but I'm hoping that they don't sacrifice episodes for length. I'm feeling with like the Acolyte especially, that the episodes were so short, and Mandalorian as well. Quite often you'll have short episodes, but you compare that to something like Stranger Things, where they'll do like an hour and a half episode, and
Right.
you get really invested. You can build the characters out. I don't know why there's some sort of limit at Lucasfilm to say episodes can't be more than a certain length, and
Yeah.
that's quite frustrating. I think Andor was different.
And
They were a bit
you
longer,
have
but
the occasional Mandalorian that's super long, but not
yeah,
often. Not often. And yeah,
no,
the Acolyte felt like it was budgetary, probably, is the reason it didn't
maybe
run long.
it felt rushed. Um, Whereas this, the guy doing this is the guy who did all the new Spider-Man films.
Oh,
John,
interesting. Okay.
I can't remember. I think it's Jonathan Watts. Maybe I might have that right. I know
Okay.
Watts is his surname. I can't remember, but he directed those new Spider-Man films, which are excellent. So, well, I like
Yeah,
them,
I
but
enjoy them. And that also proves that he's somewhat capable of working with kids, slightly older kids, in
yeah,
the case of Spider-Man. But
yeah, it's definitely interesting, this one, because I'd heard loads of rumors about it being kind of like a not Stranger Things kind of age, but it seems younger than that to me. It seems more like Goonies, where you've got kids. Although no, I'm actually speaking rubbish there, because Stranger Things season one, they were all really young, weren't they? So
yeah, it's
um,
true.
I'm just thinking of it when they've grown up as we've seen them through the season. So
Yeah,
maybe this will be the same.
yeah, the show looks super fun.
Yeah,
I'm yeah. December seems like a great time for this kind of like kid. It's funny to say kids show, but it features kids. But I think it'll be entertaining for adults as well, not just
yeah.
kids.
I just
It
part of
won't.
me just hope.
It,
Yeah, go on.
it won't be like that Resistance cartoon that's like clearly made for kids. This feels like something that adults will
Yeah,
enjoy as well as the kids in the
or the
room.
Jedi one, the junior. I can't remember what they call it.
Oh yeah, the junior
There's a
series.
preschool type junior
Yeah,
Jedi one. And I'm a big, I love my Star Wars, but I'm not at the point where I'm watching that one. But I did watch Resistance, at least some of it.
I did too. That's the we'll probably talk about it at some point, but that's the only animated that I really struggled to enjoy.
Okay. um, so yeah, I mean, I think just kind of summarizing the Skeleton Crew, for me, I'm excited for it. I think it looks interesting. It looks different. New characters we haven't seen before, mostly. I'm hoping they don't rely on any. They will, I imagine, maybe Mando. Who knows? Will show up. I'm hoping
Mm-hmm.
they don't. I'm hoping they just stick to their own characters and do their own thing. But I already fear for those kids on social media.
Yes.
That's the one thing I want to stick to with this podcast. I want to, I know we will, but more the light side than dark side stuff. I just that's been. I don't even go on YouTube and look for Star Wars stuff really these days, because it's all, Kathleen Kennedy with red eyes saying ruin Star Wars on the big text on front of it, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So I do fear. Not they're actors, they get paid for this stuff, but I really hope that if the series comes out, you don't get the hardcore idiots going after him. I really hope
Exactly. Yeah.
because that's the only part of Star Wars that really kind of brings a bit of shame to it for me. The fandom, it's largely it's positive, I would say. But there's these pockets, especially on YouTube, of these just people that just hate to hate stuff, and it's
Mm-hmm.
quite tiring. But it's not something we're going to be doing here.
Nope.
we will talk about stuff we don't like, but not in that way.
Yes.
We'll be respectful, obviously. So if we move into the topic, then, so in this episode, we wanted to talk about origin stories. So given this is the first episode, I thought we thought it might be quite good to go through where we came from and where we started as kind of Star Wars fans. So I mean, shall I go first? Or do you
Yeah.
go
And
first? Yeah.
I'll jump in with commentary from time to time here.
Okay. So for me, I'm old. I'm getting older.
I feel
I'm the
like I'm
same
old
age
too, but I'm
well,
not.
I got 10 years on you.
Me too.
I came on at the same time as Star Wars. I was born after New Hope, but only by about a month or two.
Okay.
So you can guess how old I am. And for me, it's the earliest memory I've got of Star Wars is VHS New Hope at home, and I probably would have been maybe 4, something like that, 4 or
Yeah.
5.
When
And
was
all I
VHS even around? I'm trying to.
Yeah, I'm not sure when it came
I'm
in, but
gonna
my
Google this real quick as you talk here.
yeah, my dad owned a video store, and
Oh, so you might have had access to things
I
before
might
you
have
could
seen it
buy
early.
them.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. But all I remember was kind of images really now. I remember kind of sat on the sofa at home and seeing images of the white ship, the Tantive, those corridors, Vader, R2, and the lightsaber, and the final battle is pretty much all I remember from that time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
as I was a bit older, I was at home. It was Empire that really got me, and I
Yeah.
just watched that on repeat. That's all I did. There wasn't obviously no internet. Um, I would just watch that on repeat over and over again to the point where I almost wore it out. Um,
So the first video rental store I looked up, 1977, at least in America. So
okay.
yeah, right around Star Wars time is kind of when VHS and rentals started to kick off, and that was the time where rentals would be rather expensive, I think.
Yeah, I'm guessing it would have been probably I would have been 3 or 4. I'm guessing it would have been like 80
Yep.
because one of my memories I've got is my very first. Well, it wasn't my very first cinema trip because I remember or movies. Like you guys, cinema for us. um, we it was Snow White, and that was really young. But the other memory I've got earlier there was Return of the Jedi. I saw it when it came out, so that would have been 83, 84 time. Um, and being in the cinema there, I didn't even know it was coming out. Obviously, there was
Right.
no YouTube, no internet, nothing to tell you what was coming out apart from maybe with my dad working, as he did, with the shop. We used to get these magazines that would say what was coming out and all that kind of stuff. But I was too young to really know, and it was kind of a surprise trip where I was told we were going to do our food shopping for the week, and we ended up seeing Return of the Jedi, which was great. And I just really remember, Jabba's palace, and the final Luke Vader.
So you
That's
were
all I
like
really
six,
remember.
six
I
at
would
the
have been
time.
6 or 7, that sort of time. Yeah.
Yep. So it was
So
83.
83 came out. Yeah. So it would have been. I remember it being absolutely packed, and I remember being scared about the Jabba stuff. I remember the Luke and Vader fight. That's pretty much all I remember really about it. And the black and the green saber, is my favorite
Yeah,
combination.
that green
Um,
saber was so cool as a kid.
it was, yeah, I love the green saber. My cousin actually made me a. He was really artistic and creative. He made me a lightsaber out of a broom handle, but it
Mm-hmm.
got confiscated off me because I kept hitting people on the legs with it. But
Because
that was
thinking
the
back,
green.
the
Yeah.
blue saber, it wasn't that it was just blue. It was just like because of the technology, it's like a weak blue. But the
It was like
green
white
was more
almost.
like vibrant and like
Yeah.
it was like wow, that's something.
Yeah, of the Star Wars kind of sabers, that is my favorite. Luke's Return of the Jedi,
Yeah, and I had a
and that's probably my age. That might be.
plastic green saber toy, and we also had the red saber. I'm pretty sure we hit them so hard against each other that they broke. But
Yeah,
they would they'd light up and make sounds when they clashed and
yeah, I
stuff. And
probably had the same one. It was like one
yeah,
of those telescoping ones that you flicked out,
yes,
and yeah,
yep,
Kenner. It was Kenner or Hasbro ever
yeah,
back
yeah,
then. Yeah, I had
Hasbro,
the
I
same
think.
one. I had the same one, except I was in university. I would have been like,
Right,
I bought it just after the special editions came out, so that would have been 96, 97, something
yep,
like that. No, 97. Yeah, 20 years.
97, yep,
Um, but growing up, kind of where I did in was kind of prime Star Wars time. With you couldn't go into a store without seeing the Kenner figures on the rack, and
mm-hmm.
there was stuff on TV. There was cereal boxes everywhere. Way more, and every Christmas was basically every kid my age got Star Wars stuff. So it'd be like, I got the AT-AT one year and the Millennium Falcon, all the figures. Um, and then you'd have a friend who had like I remember I had a friend who had all the Boba Fett stuff, and I was like
Mm-hmm.
really jealous because I wanted the ship. But I got the Millennium Falcon, which was great. I love that ship.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was a different time because it was a massive gap then, without nothing coming out until really when I went to uni, and the special editions and the shadow. I got into the Shadow of the Empire books.
yeah.
That book I read that, and then special editions came out, and then it all kicked it all back off for me because I had a
And the
spell because it
N64
was nowhere.
and
It
the
was
N64 was like a golden console for like Star Wars games. I loved all those
Rogue.
like Rogue Squadron and
Yeah,
Shadows Empire was there. Yeah, there was some good ones on there.
Yeah,
Escape from
I bought an
Naboo.
N6. Oh yeah, yeah. I bought a N64 just to play that stuff.
Yeah. And then
Um,
PS2, a Jedi Starfighter and Starfighter, which I love those games back in the day. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But what about yourself?
So I was born in 1987, so 10 years before the special editions.
Yeah,
So I grew up on the OG VHS tapes.
yeah,
And so I have vivid memories of the original trilogy before they got messed around with.
yeah.
Um, and I remember vividly our van went on a road trip eventually ate Empire at the very,
Oh
very
no.
end as they're looking out at all the ships and stuff after everything's
Yeah.
gone down. And, we could still watch it, but the end would be all like messed up a bit, which
Good
was
old
very sad.
VHS.
Yeah. But I watched those things on repeat, and I think that's how I was introduced, just the VHS tapes. And then we heard about the special editions, and I
Yep.
was rather excited, to say the least. But yeah, and then that was the era, and leading up to that and stuff, all the action figures, Power of the Force, I think it was called.
Power of the
So
Force with big muscly bodies. Was that the figures that had big like?
no, there were small figures.
Were they? Oh, okay. Maybe I'm
The green
misremembering.
box cards or whatever behind them.
Yeah.
But I got pretty much every action figure that I could get my hands on back then, and I did get
Yeah.
a Slave 4 ship. I had one of those. I had a TIE fighter. Trying to think what other ships I had, but yeah, I still have a bunch of this stuff back at my mom's house. I need to collect at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Mine's all my original stuff's all here. I got just behind me. I got all my figures and I got the AT-AT. The only thing I don't have is the Millennium Falcon anymore because I'd lost so many bits over the years that it was
Yeah,
just a shell that had gone yellow. So we just ended up getting rid of it. But
it
I do have the AT-AT still.
yeah, and my first CD I ever owned was the A New Hope 2 CD special edition soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
And it's amazing. I look at Apple Music and the streaming stuff. They've released a new remastered, which is great. It's spatial audio. It sounds
Oh,
phenomenal.
I didn't know
But
that.
yeah, have a listen to those on something with spatial audio. It's wild how good that sounds.
I'll do that later.
But it's a shame they replaced it with the expanded 2 CD set with all the music, and that you can't really find anymore. I'm glad it's in my iTunes
Oh,
Match because like that full extended edition kind of soundtrack gone from. I'm not sure if you can buy it digitally or whatnot. But
don't know.
yeah, kind of interesting. Just the music of Star Wars, how that kind of like the releases kind of. I remember the 2 CD set being a huge thing because prior you just had the little excerpts kind of
Yeah, I
track
remember.
CD. Yeah,
I had Jedi. I had the Jedi one.
yeah,
I remember those coming out.
and then yeah, so that got me in the whole music world. I started collecting John Williams soundtracks and have pretty much all of his work on CD still at some, at back at my mom's house. It's all ripped to my iTunes at this point, but yeah, I listened to that over and over again. And then Star Wars toys were huge. Every Christmas,
Yeah.
I was like going after something. My most memorable one is probably R2D2, the Lego Mindstorm. This was the thing where you could program it to like drive around and do all sorts of
Oh yeah.
things. It was like
Yeah.
a little computer that you could put inside the little Lego. I don't know how much this thing costs back in the day. I think they were hopefully cheaper than Legos become these days, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
like
Lego's expensive.
this foot tall thing that rolled around and stuff. You program it, super cool. And they also had like this life size Yoda thing from Lego, which I still have
Oh yeah.
assembled. It's kind of in saran wrap at my mom's house still.
Yeah. No, it's all cool stuff, and I think that sort of era as well. Because when I was growing up, it was all Kenner, all the
Yeah,
original Kenner stuff. But then with you had the licensing from Lego,
yeah. Lego
which
is
I
such
never
a
had.
huge thing. Yeah,
So, and that's become such a huge part of Star Wars now. Especially, there's a trailer out actually for their new special.
yeah,
The Lego Star Wars stuff's great, and the games are great. It's become a massive kind of thing now, isn't it?
yeah. And so I remember, watching the special editions in theaters. I watched all of those in theaters at least once. I,
Yeah,
I
same.
just, yeah, and it was just mind blowing to see them on the big screen. I remember the ad, like, taking from the TV to the big screen, and it's like, oh yes, I can't wait. And then the prequels, I just want to touch on just the fact that they had the Pepsi campaign for the prequels, and I grew up in a house that was only milk and water, and I tried to taste the soda because they were in the special Star Wars cans, and I thought they were disgusting soda. So I forced myself to drink soda so I could have the cans, and by the end of it, that campaign worked. I started to enjoy sodas, and I still have in storage the complete set of the Pepsi cans.
Nice.
Some of them are unopened, and it was funny back in the day. They were on my desk that had some shelves above it, and I didn't realize that if you leave cans next to each other, over time the vibrations of the room, they'll hit each other, and they will create a little tiny pin-size opening in different cans, and you'll have at like 2 a.m., soda spraying out of a can because they've been tapping each other for, months on end. And so a couple of them are empty but unopened, which is just amazing. Yeah.
I don't think we had that in the UK.
They didn't, because I remember they had different. In Australia, they had different designs, and so different countries. Some of them had different designs and stuff. And I remember I even got in a display case I bought from Lucasfilms whatever website, the Destiny can. That was the full color Anakin to Darth Vader transition can. That was just a beautiful thing.
Oh, I think I've seen that somewhere.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be in like circulation, and you won something if you could find it in the real world. But I was lazy and just bought it. Then they have the golden Yoda cans, which I never was able to get my hands on any of those. But those cans were special. Like, I wish they would do more of that kind of stuff. Like that was just such a fun campaign.
And the mail-in stuff, kind of when I was growing up with a Kenner, the only way you could get the Emperor, which I've still got behind me there on the shelf, was to mail in. Yeah, I think it was card back-ins from like a few other figures.
Okay.
And then so you'd collect, whoever, and then you'd cut a little code or whatever it was in the back of the box and send them off, and they sent you a white box, no card back, just a white box with the Emperor figure in it. I still remember the day I got that.
Yeah.
And where I was, and upstairs at home in my folks' place. The mail-in stuff obviously doesn't work now, but that was a great time having to do that. And I mean, you were lucky stuff was out when you were a kid. I mean, when there was a mail-in on the first lot, I wasn't. Right. I'm young enough.
I was in prime.
I'm not old enough to be caught out by that.
Yeah, I was in prime merchandising era of Star Wars, where the movies were, the 90s. The movies weren't there. There were a bunch of books and video games and stuff. But yeah, those cans, there's something special. Like Mountain Dew had it's for Diet Pepsi, they all the Pepsi brands, and I think they were all numbered too, with little look those up at some point. It's a shame you didn't have those because they were a lot of fun. Yeah.
The only visual I've got from them is occasionally when I'm on Reddit, you'll see someone spot one of the machines. The vending machines, and they'll be because they're still in the circulation in the States, and you'll find them in a motel or in wherever. They'll just this Coke, the Pepsi, the cover, with Sebulba, and I think it was Anakin and stuff, the pod racing on the front of it.
Yeah, but watching the movies, I remember even back then, watching the originals unaltered, being fascinated by the mention of the Clone Wars, and I even remember the lava planet being mentioned in some book or something before the prequels were even announced, that this lava planet was where Vader. It might have been in an encyclopedia of Star Wars kind of book.
I tell you what that was from. I know exactly what that was from because I came across the same thing. So and again, I don't know. Again, this might be a difference between the States and the UK, but there used to be a weekly magazine.
Okay.
That came out, which was done by. I got one behind me.
So I did not get magazines for Star Wars, so it might have been in a book as well.
It might have been, and they did that story, and I remember learning about the Obi-Wan pretty much as it went down in
it's
films,
oh my god, they're going to do
story.
This. Yeah,
and they was just like, wow, can't wait to see that. And obviously for me, I mean, what's interesting with us having that age gap is when the prequels came out in what, 99,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be 12,
Yes.
prime age for it, whereas I
Yes.
was 21 or something, and I'm an original trilogy fan. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I loved Obi-Wan. I absolutely loved Qui-Gon Jinn. He's still one of my favorite Jedi.
Qui-Gon's
Um,
so
but
good.
but I went in with expectations, of how certain things would be, and I remember being completely. I wouldn't say I was disappointed. It was more, stuff like 3PO. Why did he need to be built by Anakin? All that stuff bothered me back then. It doesn't
Like,
bother
see,
me
I
now.
love
Like,
that as a kid. It's like, oh, that's
yeah,
so cool. And you have
I
the naked
yeah,
C-3PO.
I didn't have a problem with that. It was just, why did he need to be created by
Sure.
Vader? Because I just saw Anakin as Vader, because
Yeah,
I'd grown
yeah.
up with Vader, so it was just like, but
And I was always fascinated by, as a kid, just watching the originals. Like, how did how did Anakin become Vader? And I was
yeah,
fascinated by, like, I want to see that. I want to see that. And like,
oh
so
yeah,
that was the story I was most into with even the original trilogy of this Vader guy and how he became that way.
yeah, and Anakin for you is probably like Luke was for me, whereas I grew up with Luke as
Yeah.
my hero. He was the hero of the series, and then you
Hmm.
obviously had Anakin and Vader, and in a way, it was. I wouldn't say better or worse for either of us. It was just you had more of a history to want to build up, whereas for me it was all new. So it was
Yeah.
kind of, well, you don't really know, you don't see Anakin until the very end of the film, and his
Right.
helmet comes off. But
And I grew up in Indiana, and at a neighbor rivaling school, Jake Lloyd attended a similar
oh
age, and he was like on the soccer team and stuff. So he was like known in our area, like as just a kid. Just was at school, near my rival,
yeah,
whatever team or whatever.
poor
And
guy.
yeah. Evidently, his parents were good about shielding him from all the hate online,
Yeah.
which is good. Yeah, I thought he did a decent job with what he was given there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was a good actor back then. I don't think Lucas was particularly great at directing
No.
kids, or it was kind of, you hear stories about the original trilogy, and it's just like, oh, could just go and do that, or and so, but it was a different style. But for me, it's funny because I didn't have kind of in the UK, Dave Prowse, who played Darth Vader,
Yeah.
had an alternate role called the Green Cross Code Man.
Okay.
So if you go on YouTube, you don't need to do it now, but just remember to do it. And people listening, go on YouTube and look for the Green Cross Code Man. And it's like it was like a national safety thing of how to cross the road if you're a child. You stop
Mhm.
stop at the pavement,
Oh yeah.
look both ways, and it was that kind of thing. And he came to visit schools, and he came to our school in his because he was from an area called Bristol, which is, it's near where I live now. But
Mhm.
when I was a kid, I grew up in Wales, and it was still only about half an hour from where I lived. So he did a lot of local schools and stuff,
Yeah.
dressed as the Green Cross Code Man.
Huh.
But he turned up, and everyone's just like, "That's Darth Vader." So everyone's just hammering him for Darth Vader stuff. I've still got a photo, I've got an autographed picture from him, but he's dressed up as the Green Cross Code Man.
Oh wow. That's cool.
But yeah, I mean, that poor kid, like Jake Lloyd, you read stories about him now, and the problems he's had over the years with addiction and all that, and I think
Yeah.
addiction and mental health and all, like that's why, again, which coming back to earlier with those young actors in Skeleton Crew and the people in Acolyte and anyone who's doing any of that stuff, it's just it's pretty tough these days. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we'll need to explore topics around the prequels for not
Yeah,
versus
like
originals, but
Celebration 2,
yeah.
the Star Wars stuff, that was in Indianapolis. So I dragged my mom to
Oh, nice.
to that. And yeah, we can go longer on that later time. But yeah, that was my mom was such a trooper. Going to like, Bob, can we go to this Star Wars things? This is a big deal. And they still do celebrations to this day. Most
Yeah,
of
I
them in
went last year.
California at this point. But
Yeah, we went to London last year.
yeah,
It's a bit very commercialized now, obviously, and jam packed, and
yeah. And I remember
yeah,
they had a action figure there that I couldn't get my hands on. We waited in line. They ran out. It was like George Lucas as like an X-wing fighter or something.
not in his flannel shirt.
No, yeah. But yeah, they had this special limited edition action figure there. And, yeah, I could get my hands on it. But it was such a good time to go to that thing with all these Star Wars folks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess around the merchandise and the toys, and that's something to this that I need to stop myself from buying stuff. It's
Mhm.
especially with some of the quality of like the legends. I've got like a couple of helmets. I've got like Boba Fett, and I've got the Mandalorian, and I've not got any of the lightsabers, but I keep looking at them.
Yeah,
Um,
I wish I could go to those theme parks at some point. Those theme parks where you build your
yeah,
own saber. That seems so
yeah.
cool.
We booked in. We had a family trip to go to Disney. I was getting confused. The one in Florida, Disney
Yep.
World, that is, isn't that?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and we'd had it all booked up. It'd been a year, and paying over the year, to pay for the holiday and stuff. And then
Mm-hmm.
it was 2020.
Oh, nothing
So the
happened that
pandemic,
year, right? Yeah.
yeah. So they cancelled the. I got all my money back, thankfully, but we haven't gone back. We haven't had a
Right.
thought to rebook it. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's like the Savvy, I think it is, workshop. We can
Yeah.
build them and that. Yeah, I mean that's cool. I would like to do that at some point, especially before my daughter gets too old. But she's more into anime than Star Wars, to be honest. So I've kind of given up on force feeding any of that. When she
Right.
was
Yeah.
younger, we used to watch them together, but now she's got, kids tend to not watch what you watch because they want their own identity at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
She likes Visions, because it's all
Mm-hmm.
obviously animated. And we watched the Clone Wars together, and that's something again, we'll talk more about stuff in later episodes, obviously. But for me, the prequels, being older and
Mm-hmm.
watching them through that, and episode 3 was my praying, please, please, I want to make this not good, but make this, and I enjoyed most of it at the time. I enjoy them now more because I'm watching the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, watch a Clone Wars, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch it, and I loved it,
Yeah.
especially from season 1's a bit iffy here and there, but see, from season 2 onwards, it's an amazing series. And Ahsoka is now one of my kind of favorite characters in Star Wars. So
Yeah. Disney Plus is
it's
introducing those playlist things. I would
yes,
love if they
yeah.
just add, here's the Clone Wars in the order, chronological order versus release date order, because the original,
Oh yeah.
because up until like season probably 3, you have to like consult the guide for which order do I watch these in, so does it actually make sense?
Yeah, yeah, and it kind of sounds like we've got similar. There's lots of stuff for us to talk about. We've got lots of topics down. If there's anything anybody thinks is worth us going through, then let us know. But I mean, from an origin story, I think it's good because we're coming at it from different timelines.
Yeah,
It makes it a lot more interesting.
yep. And I remember, we bought the VHS tapes of the special editions once those were available.
Yeah,
There were the silver boxes and all
I was going to
that.
say that you kind of pulled them out, didn't you? You
Yeah,
had like a silver and a gold. There was a gold one as well, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
I had the gold. I remember having the gold one, and I had a free T-shirt with it.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know whether that was just a UK thing, but there was a store called WH Smith's, and they've largely gone away now. But I still see them occasionally, and it came with special edition gold Vader. I remember being on the cover, and it came with a T-shirt with the special edition
Okay,
thing
yeah.
on it. Which I don't have anymore, but that were good times. Special editions.
Yeah.
I think that did a lot for Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a
So-
whole segment in the future about just the different versions of the original trilogy. Because, like, I remember being vividly angry at the Blu-rays with the audio edits of, like, they removed Vader saying no, and then in A New Hope, they botched there was this amazing trumpet solo at the very end of the movie in space, and instead, the sound guy, Bert, whatever, put his sound effects over this glorious Jabalib's part.
Oh.
They've since fixed it in later editions, but it's like some of the stuff they did with just the sound just made me so angry, because the sound is the sound even more than the visuals to me is like such part of what I remember so vividly.
Yeah, I mean just quickly on that one, on the sounds, the one that I still can't. Oh, there's two I can't get over when I watch Return of the Jedi, and you can guess what they are. Maybe from music, you can guess what they are from a music perspective. Maybe
Jabba's palace and the celebration.
Yipnov.
Yeah.
The original Ewok song is so good.
It's so good.
I liked in terms of them going across the galaxy and showing like Coruscant and all these different places,
Naboo and all that. Yeah, I'm glad that's in there. But
I enjoyed that.
I wish they could
not the
have
music.
kept this. Yeah, I mean the music's it's not as good.
It's okay. I mean, like panpipes type stuff. I don't
Yeah,
mind
yeah,
that. It's just that original Ewok song is really good, and I
yeah.
can't even watch the Jedi Rocks, whatever it's called. I have to just fast forward that bit.
You don't like the
Um,
close up of the interior of the mouth?
no, it's not so much the visuals. It's just the song.
Song,
It's
yeah. No, I get it.
it's such an iconic kind of imagery, that whole palace and the
Yeah,
music and the background music that's in there and stuff. And but
yeah.
anyway, that's
Oh, yeah. And I also I have vivid memories when I saw Episode 1 in theaters that Darth Maul jumped when they're escaping Naboo. I
yeah.
could have sworn I saw this where Darth Maul jumped on the little ramp and he
On
fell
Tatooine, he does, yeah. Oh no, do you mean on Naboo? You mean
on on Tatooine when
so
they're
on
escaping.
Tatooine when he's fighting Qui-Gon when he
Yeah,
comes
that he
in?
somehow jumped on that ramp and had like he fell from that somehow. But I've never seen this anywhere in my entire life.
No,
It's in
it's
my
Qui-Gon
mind.
jumps up, doesn't he? And then off
Yeah,
they go.
yeah.
Yeah.
I could have sworn that like Darth Maul got a hand on there and fell, but I've never seen anything online about this. But just like one of those memories, it's like I must have made this up because I know there's all
Yeah.
sorts of different versions, but clearly this was not a version that was ever a thing.
Yeah. I think we could probably do an episode just about each of those prequels.
For sure.
Um
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I remember. I did see Attack of the Clones, the special digital. I saw the digital release as well as the analog film release, and there
okay.
was like a different end scene where Anakin like
Oh,
held Padme's hand. Is like, ooh, this is a different scene. And yeah, the
okay.
whole thing.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah,
It's not my favorite, I got to be honest, episode 2. It's probably my least. I know we might do a ranked type thing maybe at some point,
yeah.
but it's probably my lowest of any of the films, I would
Oh,
say.
I enjoy the
Um,
end battle stuff, especially.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just more
and I know people don't like the
some of
Yoda
the
stuff,
dialogue.
but I rather
I
enjoy him
like that.
jumping around like a frog.
Yeah,
That's
no, I love
great.
that
Yeah.
stuff. I
Okay.
love that
Yeah.
stuff. I love
But
that stuff.
anyways, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's. I'm happy. I've covered. I think what the important stuff. I think
Yeah.
from an origin story perspective. I think for
Oh
now.
yeah. I just want to say I was music wise. I
Yeah.
love that Phantom Menace got the 2 CD Ultimate Edition release.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
angry over the years. They never did that treatment to episode 2 or 3. We never got it. It's like, what's going on? Did we only get the nice special edition for the first movie and not the other two?
And
Yeah.
you know the story about the soundtrack listing. Do you know about that?
No.
Where I remember, and this again, I'm hearing this secondhand because it was on a Star Wars podcast I listened to, and they were talking about it. And the soundtrack for episode 1 came out before the movie.
Oh, Qui-Gon dies.
And there was a
yes.
track called like Qui-Gon Dies or something.
Yeah, I remember.
Death of
I do remember that.
something
yes.
like that.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Oh man, you just ruined the movie."
I remember that because I was following that like so hard back then. What was it? The Force.net or something, I think.
The Force.net, yeah, that's still going. I think I was one of the. I'm trying to think. I don't even know if I definitely had the internet, but I was the only reason the only way I was watching stuff from it before it came out was when the Duel of the Fates came out, and and on MTV they had
yeah, that was
and I
an event.
just used to watch that all the time.
Yeah, record that.
And I'm still thinking, how's this kid flying a spaceship?
Yeah,
That's all I remember. Not really kind of knowing he's Anakin, but I'm thinking, right, you've lost me already. I was, I was not a, I was like 19 or whatever, so I was,
Yeah.
like I wasn't like excited, but I'd grown up with people of an older age flying starships.
Sure.
And then there's this kid in there, and it didn't bother me when it came out. It's just one of those little things. It's like I'm going to need an adjustment period.
Yeah,
for
I was
my
remember I
expectations.
collected like the Time magazine, all the whatever magazine
yeah.
editions of the episode 1 thing coming out because that was such a huge. Yeah, we'll have to talk about episode 1 because that was
this is great
huge,
because you're like hardcore
such a
prequel.
huge deal back in the day.
this is good.
It's like it's
because
come back. Yeah.
we're going to be coming at the prequels at different angles.
Indeed, yeah.
As in, I enjoy them now, but I maybe didn't enjoy them completely back then. So I think there might be some interesting discussions. But
For sure.
but yeah, I mean, thanks everybody for listening. Like I said, this is what I'm not really calling it a pilot, but this is our first go at this doing Star Wars stuff. Thanks everybody that's listened. Like I said, it's going to be likely going to be a couple of episodes a month. See what happens in terms of news, and as shows come out, maybe we can have like recaps of shows we've watched weekly. Maybe,
Yeah.
who knows? See where this goes. Just keeping it relaxed and see where we get to. If you want to get in touch with me about anything, or if you've got any ideas about topics or the show in general, then if you go to ljpuk.net, then you'll be able to see a little contact form there, and you can just chuck me an email. And you can find an email. Yeah, like it's like the 90s. You'll see a contact form on there. That's probably the easiest way, rather than give you kind of all my Mastodon stuff and everything else. And Tim, where's the best place for people to get to you?
Mastodon threads tchatin. So at tchat@mastodon.world. And Vision Pros and iPad Pros if you want to listen to more of what I'm up to.
Cool. Thank you. And thanks everybody for listening. And we'll speak to you in the next one.